In this video, I will try to introduce the concept of supply chain management. So basically, when we are trying to define the supply chain management, first of all, we need to understand what is a supply chain and then what are the structure and the components of the supply chain are. And then we will try to define the supply chain management concept. And then in the end, I will try to link the different supply chain activities with the SCOR model. Okay. So let me first of all define so how we can define the supply chain. So basically supply chain is network of organization, or you can say the network of firms or facilities that involve transforming the raw material into the finished product, and then that finished product must be distributed to the customer, or you can say the final consumer or the final customer. Okay, so when we are defining the supply chain, so we are basically dealing three types of flows. One is the physical flow, that is basically from moving from the manufacturing firm towards the customer. Okay, then we have the financial flow as well as we have the information flow. So as you can see from this particular diagram, the flow of information is moving both way. Okay, so generally, of course, the information comes from customer towards the manufacturer in terms of orders, and from manufacturer to customer in terms of what's the status of the order is. And then the physical flow is basically indicating the flow of the product, okay, from manufacturer or supplier towards the customer. And of course then there is a financial payment flow. So we have to manage these three flows. Now the question is this supply chain structure is simple enough? So we have a manufacturer and then we have a customer, or we have a supplier or and we have a customer? No. So actually in a supply chain, as you can see that this is the manufacturing firm. Okay, so the firm those are supplying the product to this, that would be normally called as a first tiers of suppliers, and then we have a second tiers of suppliers. And the relationship between those suppliers and the manufacturing firm is not only the linear relationship. So but when I am saying the linear, that means the second tier only distributing to the first supplier, and then the first supplier is only distributing the manufacturing. So this is not actually happening. Even they have the non-linear relationship. So this particular supplier, as you can see from this particular diagram, is distributing to this particular supplier as well as maybe distributing to this particular manufacturing firm. So these activities, or you can say that these streams would be called as a upstream supply chain processes, or you can say upstream supply chain perspective. Whereas when we are talking about this one, this is called as a downstream supply chain. Okay, so this one is called as a downstream supply chain, where we have the wholesalers, we have the distributors, okay, and then we have the retails and the final customers, right? So this is the downstream supply chain, this is the upstream supply chain, this is basically the manufacturing, and these arrows are basically indicating the storage activities or the transportation which we are moving from this place to this place. Okay, and then of course between them we may have the storage areas, right? So this is how we can managing the supply chain, the product and the service flow, as well as recycling and return if it is occurring. Now, I'm giving you a brief example that was regarding a bicycle supply chain perspective. So this is basically we are assembling a bike. Okay, so from the first tier of suppliers, so we are getting the structure of the bike, right? Brake systems, wheels. Okay, for this particular supplier, so this need rubber, so this they are getting from another supplier. So this is the first tier suppliers. So for the bicycle, this is for the you can say the second tier suppliers. And once this bike is assembled, or you can say the manufacturer, it goes to the distributor or the wholesaler or the dealers, and they are distributing to the final customer, or you can say providing the product to the final customer. So I hope you got the idea regarding so how we can define a supply chain. The important component is we have to manage the three types of flow: physical flow, information flow, as well the financial flow. And the relationship between these suppliers, the first tier supplier, the second tier supplier, the manufacturer, and the distribution is not compulsory. It is always linear. It could be a non-linear relationship, as you can see from this one. Okay. Now, let's see what kind of structure or the components in a supply chain. As we have discussed earlier, so in a supply chain where I am saying the work in process inventory, that is basically, this is basically the manufacturing part. Okay, so up on the upper side, this is basically the upstream supply chain, and this is downstream supply chain. So in a upstream supply chain, generally we are dealing with the sourcing activity, or you can say procurement activities from the external suppliers. Okay, we are selecting the suppliers, we are developing the pricing, okay, delivery times, payments, managing the inventory. So these are the activities we are usually doing in the upstream supply chain. Whereas in the manufacturing portion, whether we are manufacturing the product, we are assembling the product, we are packaging the product, we have the scheduling the different types of jobs, okay, which particular job will be performed first on which particular machine, okay, we are monitoring the quality of the product, okay, as well as workers productivity, machines productivity, all are in the manufacturing activities, okay. Whereas in a downstream supply chain, so basically customers are receiving the orders, okay, so we are developing a network of warehouses, okay, which retailer will be getting the product, okay, so all the schedule are developing in a downstream supply chain. So based on that, we can define the supply chain management. Okay, so we know what is the supply chain, what is the structure of the supply chain is. Now we can define how we can define the supply chain management. So basically, supply chain management deals with the management of material, which is a physical flow, information flow, and financial flow in a network consisting of supplier, manufacturer, distributor, and customer. So according to the Stanford Supply Chain Forum, so how we can define the supply chain management. So as you can see that, so in a supply chain, okay, so we can also say that is a active management of supply chain activities and their relationship in order to provide the maximum value to the customer and getting the sustainable competitive advantage. Now the question is, what is the supply chain activities? So to answer this, so the best word is that is called the SCOR model, which is the supply chain operational reference model. So in a supply chain, as you can see that this is a second tier supplier, this is a first tier, okay, this is your manufacturing company, okay, and this is basically the downstream supply chain, okay. So this is from your company, it goes to wholesaler or dealer, and then from wholesaler to dealer towards the final customer. So in a supply chain operation, so we are basically performing the five broad areas such as planning, sourcing activities, making, or you can say manufacturing or the production activities, delivery or return. So these are the five main activities in the entire supply chain we are performing. So supplier to supplier, we are dealing out of these five activities. Supplier, okay, to the manufacturer, so they are doing some activities. So basically, from the supply chain perspective, we are dealing with five types of broader areas, that is planning, sourcing, making, delivery, and return. Now the question is, in planning, what kind of thing we are performing? So basically the planning activity seeks to balance the demand requirement from the customer, as well as based on the demand we have to check whether we have available enough resources, mean we have enough capacity, whether we have enough availability of labors, okay, and then we have to communicate these plans to the various participants. Okay, so let me show you a model. Here, what I am saying that I have taken from this research paper. So they indicating the SCORE activities, which is plan, source, make, deliver, and return. So basically, we are doing the three types of decision making, or you can say three level of decision making. strategic, okay, which are generally yearly basis we are doing the decisions, tactical based on months, okay, whereas operational which we are doing day to day decisions, okay. So these are the decisions which we have to take. Okay, as we have seen in a planning, what we are trying to do is that is we are trying to forecast the demand. However, we would be able to meet that demand. So we have to check whether we have the enough capacity available, we have enough financial amount is available, enough machinery is available, enough labor is available in order to meet this particular demand. So this is the planning part. Okay, whereas in sourcing, what we are trying to do is we are trying to identifying, developing, and contracting the suppliers. Okay, and then scheduling the delivery. So these are the sourcing activity. So if we break down this sourcing activity at a strategic level, at a tactical level, and operational. So at a strategic level, we are basically selecting the suppliers. Okay, so here we are dealing with the, so we are developing the supply chain contracts, okay, what kind of contract we are going to perform, okay, with the suppliers, as well as in operational we are trying to managing the inventory, we are doing the material requirement plans, right. So this is basically the sourcing part. Now if we are moving towards the make or the production activity, which is actually covering the producing the product, okay, so actually we are production related activities. So at a strategic level, so in a make, basically we are deciding where we have to locate the plant, what kind of the product mix we are going to use, okay, we are doing the aggregate production planning, or you can say sales and operations planning, in which we are trying to meet the forecasted demand, okay, as well as we are checking the enough capacity is available or not. In the operational we are doing the workforce scheduling or order scheduling and so on, okay. If we come to the delivery activity, so here we are doing everything from entering customer order to deliver that order. Okay. So in delivery perspective, so what kind of decision we are taking at a strategic level, that is what should be the location of the distribution center would be. So how our transportation will move, mean how many vehicles we needed. Okay, what should the route they will going to adopt. So basically we are doing the fleet planning perspective. Okay, so once we find out, okay, how many vehicles we will need based on the distribution center, then at a tactical level we are developing a distribution or transportation plan, we are adopting different type of inventory policy against appropriate location perspective, and then we are in a operational level we are deciding the vehicle routing, or you can say delivery schedule, right. Now, if we come towards the last type of activities, which is return, that is, which include the activity that is necessary to return or the process defective. So, what will we will do? At a strategic level, obviously, we are deciding what would be the location of your return center, okay, and what would be the distribution plan, okay, how we are going to deal with if there is a defective product or that we are recalling the product, so how we are going to deal with that. And of course here we are also dealing with the vehicle routing type of problem, where we are dealing with the return collections. Okay, so I hope you got the idea regarding so how we can define the supply chain, what is the structure of the supply chain, okay, in an upstream supply chain and in a downstream supply chain, what kind of activities we are performing. And in order to manage the supply chain, we can say that we are broadly divide those supply chain management activities into the 5 areas with the help of SCOR model, which is plan, source, make, deliver, and return. And in 5 areas, we are dealing the 3 levels of decision making, with whether we are doing the strategic decisions, tactical, and operation. So we have discussed what kind of decision making in sourcing we are going to deal in make and deliver and return. So thank you so much. See you in the next video. Welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk about the bullwhip effect in a supply chain. So this bullwhip effect occurs in a supply chain when the small changes in the demand of the downstream supply chain having the impact, or you can say having the huge effect on the upstream position of the supply chain. Okay, so that is basically occurring due to the communication problems. Okay, that is also due to the inherent transportation delays. Okay, maybe due to the huge order quantity. So that is basically mainly occurring due to the communication problems, or you can say due to the transportation delay towards the downstream of the supply chain. So as we know that what is a supply chain, that is starting from supplier to manufacturer to distributor to retailer and the customer orders. Okay, so normally when we are talking about the effect of the downstream supply chain, because we are considering starting the value chain of that is from the customer towards the supplier. So when the customer orders, okay, so due to the forecasting, so retailer order to the distributor a huge quantity compared to the what he has forecasted due to the you can say wrong method of the forecasting or not accurate prediction of the forecasting methods. Okay, and then distributor order the quantity higher than what it is needed. So due to these small fluctuations, we will see there is a waving impact, or you can say a higher ordering size up towards the upstream supply chain. So these whips, or you can say these small changes in a supply chain causes the bullwhip effect. Okay, so like we are saying in a supply chain terms, these small flicks increase or decrease in the original forecast demand, having the impact towards the upstream supply chain or upstream echelons of the supply chain. Okay, or we can say the tiers in the supply chain. So that's why in a upstream they need to maintain certain stock level. Okay, they need to produce huge quantity or the more quantity than it is needed. So now let's talk about what are the causes behind it, that's where the bullwhip effect occurs in a supply chain. So the first major cause is that is the demand forecasting updating, because in every echelon or every tier of the supply chain forecasted the demand by itself and produce the quantity based on its forecasted demand. Okay, and they are not connecting with the downstream. So that's why whenever the based on the forecasted demand from the downstream, they predict the quantity more and they produce more quantity as compared to the demand. That is due to the forecasting techniques. Okay, so that's where they ordered more quantity. Okay, so the first reason of the bullwhip effect, that is the poor demand forecasting. Okay, the second one is that is order batching. So order batching means due to the expensive of ordering and transport activities, maybe due to the poor material requirement planning platforms. So that's why they place the customer place the order at different time intervals, as well as order from the multiple customers. So they normally order the more quantity compared to the demand. So due to the multiple demand of the customers or multiple side from demand from the customers, so at a certain point of the supply chain, the you can say the demand of the product increases. So that's where we start ordering in a supply chain huge quantity. That's why the bullwhip effect occurs. So when I am saying the huge quantity, that mean at certain supply chain, maybe at a retail stage, maybe at a wholesale, maybe at a manufacturing stage. Okay, and wherever that point of sale occurs, so we start ordering the huge quantity. That's where the bullwhip effect occurs. The third cause is that is due to the price fluctuation, mainly due to the mean you can say the promotional activities. Okay, so promotional activities are also causing this bullwhip effect, that is due to the fluctuation in the prices. So that's where the demand start increasing and we have to maintain the larger inventory, or you can say we have to order the large inventory. That's where the bullwhip effect occurs in the supply chain. The fourth one is basically rationing and gaming. Okay, that is the fear from the customer end that they may change the order, they may cancel the order. Okay, so that's where we are ordering huge quantity. Okay, that's also creating the bullwhip effect.
Now let's discuss how we can minimize these causes, okay, by addressing these issues. So the first one is we can improve the forecast demand. How we can improve? By using the point of sales data. And how we can get this point of sales data? We can use the electronic data interchange support system through the supply chain partners. However, we would be able to get the exact point of sales data that in order to predict the future demand. That is the one way we can control the bullwhip effect. Another way we can control it, we should break up the order batching by placing the small order more frequently, which means first of all, we order the cost by lowering down using the electronic systems such as emails or other systems, and we can control the transportation cost uh, by, by getting the mixed product order quantity and fill the truck with the different products from the customers. Okay, that is the demand from the side of the customers. The third one, we can stabilize the price by decreasing the use of promotions activities. Okay. The fourth one, we can eliminating the gaming, or you can say we should start reducing the promotional activities, and then we should only rely on the historical demand, and then we closely work with the customers in order to work exactly or to make the production smooth. However, we would be able to reduce the bullwhip effect. The fifth one is we can restrict the customer that it should not return its unsold product. Okay. As well as the most important one, we should improve the supplier relationship, that is with the help of collaborative planning and forecasting and replenish system. That means we should communicate with all the supply chain partners in order to talking about if we are going to you can say start promoting something, or we are going to provide some discounts, or as well as we are should talk about the inventory levels, okay, and actual demand of the order. Okay. So this collaborative forecasting, planning, forecasting, replenishment system is a very good system in order to control the bullwhip effect. So as we talk about that in a collaborative process in the supply chain trading, all the partners are working jointly in order to get the information about the exact demand of the customer, okay, about the delivery of the raw material on time. However, we would be able to produce according to the actual demand instead of only the forecasted demand. So when all the partners in the supply chain, starting from customer, retailer, and manufacturer and supplier, collaborative way, then they would be able to reduce this bullwhip effect. So I hope you got the idea what is a bullwhip effect, what are the causes, and how we can control them. Okay, so thank you so much. See you in the next video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the product customization within a supply chain. So when we are saying the customization within a supply chain, that means in the entire supply chain, there is a some specific point where we want to intervene the customer required inputs. Okay, so when we are talking about the customization perspective within the supply chain, so we can adopt multiple type of customization levels, or you can say the manufacturing strategies we can adopt, or the operation strategies we can adopt in order to entertain the customization level. Okay, so the first one that is called as the make to stock, you can say in the operation strategy or the manufacturing strategy in order to entertain the customization of the customer. But the problem with the make to stock or operational strategy or a manufacturing strategy is it is purely depending upon the anticipation of the demand. So that means we have to forecast the demand, okay, and then based on that forecasting demand we are producing a particular product, okay, such as we are forecasting the televisions, we are forecasting how much mobiles will be required from the customer, how many books will be needed. So we are predicting the demand based on the historical data, and then based on that demand we are producing the product. So that means in this particular level of the customization level is very very low. Okay, very low customization level, or we can say we are purely producing a standardized product. We are focusing on the mass audience in order to provide the particular product. And of course, the advantage of this make to stock operational strategy or a manufacturing strategy is that the delivery lead time will be very low. Okay, because we have already produced the product and that product is in our inventory. So that means we will just deliver the product whenever we got the uh, demand from the customer. Okay, so that means the main critical issues in the make to stock strategy is that is forecasting the future demand. So if we didn't able to accurately predict the future demand, then it means there will be whether it will be a low forecast or a high forecast, so there will be a problem. So if there is a we are able to predict lower demand. Okay, so like for example, let me say that if the actual demand is 1500, but our forecasting model is saying that the future demand will be 1000, so which means we will be 500 units less producing the product, because we are entirely our operation strategy or manufacturing strategy is based on the forecasted demand. So that means we would be able to lose the customer. Okay, but if we would be able to predict the demand more than the actual demand, like as I told you earlier, that if the actual demand is 1500 and we have produced 2000 units, so that means that 500 will be in our inventory. So we have to maintain the inventory. So that means regarding the critical issue in the make to stock operation strategy or a manufacturing strategy is first of all, our forecasting method should produce the accurate demand, as well as the second main issue is how we would be able to maintain the inventory in order to meet the demand if we are a capacity constrained system specifically. Okay, then we have to maintain some inventory because our capacity is not enough in order to meet the demand. So how much inventory we should keep in order to meet the demand of the customer. Okay, now we are moving towards the second type of level of customization. So let me talk about first of all, that is assemble to order or a build to order. So in assemble to order or build to order, that is basically we have already have the standard components, and using those standard components, we are producing a specific final product. Okay, such as computer systems, we can take the example of Dell computers, or we can say industrial equipments. So using the standard components which we have already the inventory in our system, and using those standard components, we are combining them in order to make a final product. So in a assemble to order, of course, the customization level is bit high compared to the make to stock. Okay, or you can say the standardization level a bit low. Okay, so customization level become a bit high compared to the make to stock, because the customer involvement is more near. Okay, more involvement compared to the make to stock strategy perspective. So or we can say that the customer involvement is much earlier compared to the make to stock perspective. So the critical issue in make to stock, assemble to order or a build to order is that is minimizing the inventory level of standard components, because we have the inventory of the standard components. So we have to maintain the standard component inventory in order to meet the final product demand. Okay, as well as we have to minimize the delivery time of the finished product. However, we would be reach towards our final customer as early as possible. So these are the two main critical issues in assemble to order if we are adopting this particular operation strategy or a manufacturing strategy. So now let me talk about the third one, which is a make to order. So in this particular case, what we are doing, we are producing only when we are getting the actual order. So, however, in this particular strategy, our customization level is quite high. Okay, compared to, of course, assemble to order and make to stock. because we are only producing at that particular time when we have the demand from the customer, such as we can say we are building a bed as per the requirement of the customer, we are building a particular chair or a suit. Okay, so that is the critical issue, is the customer customization. So that means we should clearly understanding the requirement of the customer, what they want from us. However, we would be able to produce the final product as per his or her requirement. And the other critical issue is we want to minimize the delivery time, okay, or you can say the time required to complete the order. So actually there is a fourth level as well, or you can say there is a fourth manufacturing strategy as well, after make to order, that is engineering to order. So I will talk about later. First, let's see in order to the customization point, or you can say the decoupling point, or we can say that at what particular point the customer involvement is occurring when we are adopting make to stock strategy or a assemble to order strategy or a make to order strategy. So right now I am taking the example of pizza manufacturing. Okay, so in a pizza manufacturing, if we are adopting a make to stock strategy, of course, we have already a finished pizza. So take the example of bakeries. So they have the finished pizza, and when the customer arrive, we are delivering the pizza. So that means we have already forecasted the demand, and we have maintained a certain inventory based on the forecasted demand, that how much pizzas we have to deliver, or you can say the customer come for buying the pizza in a particular day. So that's why according to this strategy the customer involvement is at a very ending point. Okay, whereas if we are adopting a assemble to order strategy, so here what we have already prepared the doughs, or you can say that we have already prepared the standard components of the pizzas. Okay, now after the customer arrive, we are preparing other materials of the pizzas, and then we are assembling those standard components in order to make the final product. Okay, so that over here you can see that the customer involvement over here. Okay, so as you can see that here delivery time is not a main issue. Okay, so the delivery time is quite short, whereas in this particular strategy the delivery time become a larger compared to the make to stock strategy. But as we have discussed earlier, this according to this strategy we are mainly producing a pure standardized product. The customization level is very low, whereas in assemble to order we are producing a higher level of the customization compared to made to stock. Okay, and or you can say the lower standardization level, because the customer involvement is um, uh, is much earlier compared, sorry, the customer involvement is much later compared to the make to stock strategy perspective. Okay, now we are coming towards the make to order strategy. So because in a make to order strategy, when the order comes, then we start making the product. So we have already the ingredients, and once the customer order comes, then we start making the pizza. Okay, so as you can see that over here the highly customization level is there. Okay, or we can say very low level of the standardization, and the delivery time is the major key issue. So we want to minimize this particular time. So that means we have to understand the customer order accurately, and according to the customer order, our task is we should deliver the pizza as early as possible. As you can see from this diagram as well, that is delivery time in make to stock is quite low compared to assemble to order or compared to make to order. So in this particular diagram, or even these diagrams, we were talking about processing, or you can say production, assembly, inventory, and shipping. So we were not discussing about the design process. So if we incorporate the design process, because first we are doing the designing and then manufacturing, assembly, and so on. So if we add this one, and if we want that from the design to shipping, till shipping, so the customer involvement should be over here, then this manufacturing strategy or the operation strategy is called as engineering to order. Okay, so even we are designing as per the customer requirement. Okay, so that means in engineering to order, that is
highly customized product we are producing. Okay, so let's compare them. So right now I'm comparing make to order, assemble to order, or make to stock. So if we are talking about the customization perspective of a particular product, as we have discussed earlier, it's very low. So in assemble to order is high, so this would be very high. Okay, the customization level start increasing as we are shifting from make to stock to make to order, and then make assemble to order to make to order. And the type of inventory in make to order, of course, it will be none. Similarly, in engineering to order is as well as none. Whereas in assemble to order, there will be a WIPs of the standard components. Okay, so here we have the finished goods inventory, okay, which we have to maintain. Whereas in a delivery time perspective, we can say these strategies. So the delivery time will be long. In engineering to order will be very long. So here we have a moderate, and here delivery time is very fast, right? And if we are talking about the volume, so of course in engineering to order and make to order, the volume will be quite low. Here the volume is moderate, and here we have the high volume, or you can say highly standardized product we can produce in a very high volume. So the production processes which we can adopt, that is for the make to order, either we can use a project or a job shop type of uh, you can say production process we can adopt. Here we can adopt the batch production. Okay, here we can adopt line, or you can say the mass production, as well as the continuous production process. I hope you got the idea regarding so what is make to order, what is make assemble to order, and make to stock, and even what is engineering to order, and what are the difference between them. And based on the differences, you can select according to your particular product which manufacturing strategy or operation strategy is more appropriate for you. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.